Welcome, collectors, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Diecast Emporium. Today I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview and recap of the Greenlight SD Truck Series castings that have been released to date. So if you're not familiar with these are quite a unique and interesting series of castings to collect. These trucks are produced in 1/64 scale, and to date, there have been 9 series of these, and 3 trucks are released in each series. So this started about late 2017, and the first that were released in these were 3 international castings: an international dump truck, an international platform stake truck, and an international tanker. And since we've seen some Mack trucks thrown in, but generally speaking, there's been only 7 different total castings released in that time period. So, again, currently we're in Series 9, and there's been 3 vehicles released in each of those series. So what I figured I would do is just give you guys a general overview of each of the 7 different castings. Just show you the features and the details of each one. I'm not going to show you guys all of the different colors or all the different decos that are associated with each. I just picked an example to show you here. So you guys can kind of get an example of what's out there. And like I said, I think these are a great addition to any 1/64 or truck collector's collection. So this is the first one. This is the 2017 International Workstar dump truck. This currently is available in 5 different colors: red, the New York City Department of Transportation version, that was a yellow truck with a black dump body. This version is the blue version. There was one that came in white and one that came in orange. So the coolest thing about this particular casting, which is, to be quite honest with you, probably my favorite of the 7 that have been produced so far, is that it goes great with the Diecast Masters Caterpillar equipment 1/64 scale, or if you collect other brands of construction equipment in 1/64 scale, it just fits in great with those. It has a completely working dump mechanism and tailgate, and it dumps to a pretty respectable height, and the tailgate as well works. As it spins around on the table, you can see that it's got some striping to give it some detail, which breaks up the color on it as well. The cab is a mostly die-cast piece. The dump box, for the most part, is a plastic component, but it's made of heavy-grade plastic, so the color match is close enough. The grille and lights also look really good. The only bad thing, in my opinion, that could have been improved on all of these trucks is the addition of working steering. But these trucks are priced at about $15, and I would assume that if that had been achieved, that the price point of these trucks would have had to have been considerably more expensive. So again, bear that in mind. The cylinder that drives the dump box up and down, again, that is an all plastic component as well. And the tarp mechanism here is just made for aesthetic purposes only. It's not functional. But again, if you're looking for a reasonably inexpensive 1/64 scale dump truck, you really can't go wrong with these. I mentioned the 5 different color combinations that you can get. And quite honestly, they look very good. So that's the dump truck. Next, we have the International Workstar Platform Stake Truck. I have this version offered here. And this is what I refer to as a kit bash. So this version that you're seeing on your screen was never actually a production version. This was never offered. I had an extra cab laying around, an extra red cab, so I made this version myself. But the production versions of this, they offered a gray version, an orange version, an NYPD version that came with some accessories, which if you're an avid viewer of my channel, you've seen that video, or you can go ahead and look that up. They also offered a green cab with a simulated wood finishing for the stake bed in the back. And they also offered a white cab version with red painted stake platform in the back. So those are the production versions that they offered for this truck. Again, the cab is pretty much identical to the dump truck cab, but the cool thing about this is that if you don't want this truck to be a stake bed, you can quickly take that off, and now it's a flatbed. And here are the discrete holes in the bed of this, so it's not too obtrusive, it doesn't stand out too horribly bad. And overall, the truck is made very robustly. So as long as you take care of your models and you're not too rough with them, these trucks will stand up to taking them to repeated model shows and things like that. You don't need to worry about them falling apart. And again, the striping on the side of the bed really does add some detail to it. It's a good thing that it's not all just black. Again, that adds to the immersion and the realism factor of it. So the stake bed and flatbed truck really is a good inclusion to it. The next one, and for the rest of these that you will see are all production versions. They're not customs or anything. This is the International Workstar tanker truck. This one that you'll see is one of the more recent offerings from the series. I think this came out of, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this came out of Series 9. And this is the Texaco livery, obviously. But they also offered this in white. They offered it in shell. They offered it in Quaker State / Pennzoil, Golf, Chevron, and NYPD Aviation. So, again, plenty of offerings there for whatever you need for your display or your diorama. This truck does feature a lift axle, which is not functioning. It doesn't appear to function. The working feature on this is right here in the back. That part does open, and you can see the light will work with me here. You can see some pumps and things in the back there. None of that pulls out, but again, it does add to the realism and immersion factor. The body on here, for the most part, that is a plastic component, and it's actually two pieces, which is why you can see that telltale sign of a crease across the logo, and that is pretty noticeable. But other than that, it's a solid-looking truck. And the first version of this that came out, the all-white one, I would say if you're looking to do any customs or repaint or you want to put your own logo on it, that's probably the one to get, because the rest of these, as I mentioned, are in company colors. But they all have the same functions and things on them. And there's your filler caps and stuff on top. So then, Greenlight took a break from internationals for a while. I think it was Series 5 or 6. They kind of stirred the pot a little bit and announced they were going in a different direction with the addition of the Mack license. So here is the 2019 Mack Granite dump truck. Not only was the truck itself a whole new casting, but they didn't recycle the dump box that was used with the international dump truck. It's actually a much larger and longer dump box. I don't know if I can show this to you on the rotating stand, but it's much longer in terms of... There we go. Not sure if that can come up on frame or not. But the dump box itself is substantially longer on the Mack than it is on the International. Partly because it had to accommodate the lift axle on this truck. And this one, to date, is only offered in two versions. This one, which I call the red, white, and blue, for obvious reasons. And then the bronze and black version, bronze cab with a black dump box on it. Same sort of functionality. Kind of this 3-stage cylinder here. And then the swinging tailgate. So that is the Mack Granite dump truck. Next, they announced the Mack LR refuse truck. And this iconic, unmistakable livery without the waste management decals and stuff on it, but you can very obviously tell that this is what this is inspired by. And since they offered it in all blue, as well as a Department of Sanitation of New York. So 3 of these versions currently available. What moves and works on this is the plastic loader functions. Forks fold down. So if you had a dumpster, you could theoretically move it up and down, but nothing opens. Like this doesn't swing back like it would on the real machine. And that doesn't open. Nor does the entire body flip open at the end of the day to empty all the garbage out. But again, at least there is some value in it, some moving features to it. And it is considerably heavier when compared to some of these other truck models. So that's the garbage truck. And then the last of the 3 Mack models that were announced at that time. This is the 2009 Mack Anthem day cab or truck cab. They announced this in 2 versions. This is obviously the UPS version, but they also announced it, and it came in the debut of like a gray, two-tone gray paint. This version I think looks a little bit better. No opening hood, and it kind of had a interesting 5th wheel. It's not very deep, so I have personally tried this with like DCP trailers, first gear trailers, and it doesn't work. It will work with a couple of the trailers that Greenlight offers, which that would make sense considering it's a Greenlight casting, but if you're thinking about buying this truck and pairing it with some of the higher end offerings in 1/64 scale by other manufacturers, that isn't going to work. Sorry to disappoint you. Now, obviously, you could modify the 5th wheel, and that's, completely up to buyer's discretion, but straight from the packaging, it's not designed to do that. But if you buy one just to have it sit on your layout or sit in a display cabinet or on a shelf somewhere, it's not a bad looking rig. Alright, so we've seen 6. Let's go ahead and finish up with the 7th and final casting of the SD Truck Series by Greenlight. This is the 2019 Mack Granite Cement Mixer. This was one that I was really excited about when I saw the render and when I heard the announcement for it, when they were going to do this. And I like to be completely honest and transparent with all you guys. I am a collector at heart. My personal opinion on this, I gotta be honest, I was pretty disappointed. I don't know how any other way to put it when I purchased this. I wasn't expecting the moon and the stars, but I was expecting at least the chute, which if you're not familiar is this right here, to move, which it doesn't at all. It is fixed in position. It didn't have to have, working chute extensions or, any of the shiggles of high-end models. But I was expecting at least this to move. I didn't even care if this folded down or not. I just wanted it to move. And it didn't even do that. So this was, it's one of the cases where you get really excited for something, and then you're kind of, the proverbial baseball bat to the knees happens when you get it out of the package. So that's the case for me on this one. I was so excited to have the cement mixer in this scale, a Mack Granite one, a modern day one. And yeah, it's great. This moves. I mean, you can spend all day moving the mixer, but you can't pose the chute doing anything. And that would have been so simple to rectify that in the casting. That wouldn't have cost any money whatsoever in terms of being able to work that out. But it is what it is. So there you have it, collectors. That is the entire lineup of the Greenlight SD trucks that have been released to date so far. Again, if you're coming in late to this video, there have been 9 series of these to date. We are expected to get a Series 10 announcement here very, very shortly, which will add an additional 3 trucks to that lineup. We started out with Internationals, we moved on to Macks, then they mixed into the lineup of the latest series with Internationals and Macks. So it'll be interesting to see if Greenlight acquires another OEM license, such as Freightliner or somebody else. And it will be interesting to see if they come up with some new castings, or if they stick to the same castings with just different liveries for a little while longer. I'm up for a little bit more variety, but we'll just have to see what happens. You guys let me know in the comments section below which of these vehicles that you've seen is your personal favorite, and perhaps, most importantly, which suggestion you have for Greenlight to make in the future. What kind of truck would you like to see them do as a future SD series release? As always, I'm Tommy with Diecast Emporium. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next video.